Discover the Fit Dad Community podcast, where every episode strengthens your journey as a father. Hear from experts, coaches, and real dads on balancing fitness, faith, and family. Gain practical tools for your everyday life. Join us to support your family better and build stronger communities. Fit Dad Community Podcast. Fitness for life, not just the gym.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Fit Dad Community Podcast. This is our second episode, and I'm your host, Carl Phillip, and I have a special guest tonight. It's Pete Haugabook. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Carl. How you doing, brother? Good.
I'm doing really well. So, for some people, I've known Pete for a long time, like over 20 years, about 20 years or so. And I remember when I talked to Pete about the Fit Dad community, and it was just like I call it, let's say, hey, let me call my brother and say, hey, this is what I got going on. And the first thing Pete said, I'm in. Not even knowing all the details about it, he said, I'm in. I love it. I'm behind you. So, and then to have him as my second guest on my Fit Dad community, it's an honor. It's a privilege to have you tonight. So how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. It's an honor and privilege for me. So let's start with that. I appreciate it.
All right, great. So let's get going. You ready?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. So Pete, can you tell us a little bit about you? I kind of said that your story, we want to hear your story from being a dad to a bodybuilder.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I started young age, kind of like most young boys. We're trying to get into stuff. My dad tried to direct me in the right place. So we used to go to my grandmother's house every once a month. We would go to my grandmother's house, and I didn't really like going there because I wanted to go home and watch cartoons or watch, sports or something like that. But we would go there and visit her, and days like today and days like as I'm getting older, it's like, man, it was a privilege just to be around her. But he had these old sand weights, these old school standard dirty weights that he had in the basement, and he decided one day to grab them and take them back to our house. And I was like, oh, cool. What are we going to do with these? And that's when I first got introduced to bodybuilding. I was about 11, 12 years old. I got introduced. He said, these are the weights I use. These are going to be the weights that you're going to use. So my first introduction to even grabbing weights, I was about 12 years old, which I don't recommend for, kids at that age. But I grabbed them. I picked up the weight off the ground. It was a standard bar, long bar. Picked up the weight off the ground, and I didn't bend my knees, but I put it back down. And my dad looked at me and was like, boy, you bend your knees. I'm like, wow, this is real life. So, but I was hooked after that. So about 12 years old, started lifting, and then got into sports, of course. Just like most of us, baseball. My dad was my little league baseball coach. Got into all that, but I wasn't that good of a baseball player. I was a good fielder, but couldn't hit a curveball. So I was always a small guy, right? I was probably like 5'7", 5'6", 5'7" in high school until probably my senior year got to 5'9". But I've always been short. But my thing was start lifting those weights, right? Start getting big. I want to build mass. I want to build muscle. So I got into that way. Football, track. That was like what all the cool athletes that I followed, the Bo Jacksons, the Deion Sanders, that's what they were doing. So that's what I'm going to do. So I got into all that. And I excelled in it, man. I was good in football. I was all league, all county, track and field, still hold records at my high school today, 30 years later. I was all state, took third in the 400-meter dash as a senior in high school. So, and I did it in college as well, man. Did all that and stuff in college, man. And I always thought about going to the Olympics, going to the league. I wasn't that dude, man. I wasn't fit for that. But my dad kind of grounded me and kept me in a place where I knew that I would be successful. He was always positive. He always taught work ethic. He always said, whether it's grades, whether it's work, whether it's sports, you just do everything you can possibly do. So he kind of got me into that realm, Carl, that world of just athletics and lifting and getting bigger. And then when I start seeing my body change, I was like, man, I love this. This is what I'm talking about. So that kind of got me into the world of bodybuilding. And then I started doing my research as a kid, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, the Lee Haneys, the Ronnie Colemans, the Jay Cutlers. I started doing my research on these guys, and I just got addicted. I got addicted to bodybuilding at that point. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. Not as a profession, but I just wanted to be part of my life. And that's where I was at, man.
So good. So I know So for people watching us, as a bodybuilder, so can you tell us about this picture right here?
Yeah, man. That was the Charlotte Pro. So for those out there, I am an IFBB Pro. That's International Federation of Bodybuilding. I'm a professional men's physique competitor. That's with the board shorts. So yeah, I got my pro card, and I've been competing since 1998. I don't know how old I was, 22, 23, 24, whatever I was, because I'm almost 50 now. Yeah, this is the Charlotte Pro. This was about a year ago, year and a half ago. Yeah, competed at it. So this is the pro level is so different from the amateur level. So at amateur level, I was blessed enough to succeed in it. I would win a lot of contests, or place, top three, if anything, but I would win a lot of contests. So when I got to the pro world, I was like, man, if I'm exceeding in the amateur level, I can exceed in the pro level. My first show was a Tampa Bay Pro in Florida, and I got my butt waxed. It was 40 guys. I was 40th place. And I was like, okay, I got to change the game in this. So I took a whole year just to train, get my nutrition right. I don't do protein shakes. I don't do anything like that. I do everything you see is natural foods. That's all I do. And I do that because there's other reasons that I'm sure Carl's going to ask me some questions about later on, but there's other reasons why I do it specifically that way. But this was what my best show, even though I took 5th place. This is what you call a tier 1 show. A tier 1 show is if you win this show, you qualify for the Mr. Olympia. So I took 5th place out of about 20 guys. That was my best physique up to that point, and felt great, felt good. It was work. Everybody thinks that we're healthy and we're on point. I was weak and tired right at that picture right there. But it was all worth it. It's all worth the drive for it. So yeah, that was in Charlotte.
It's great, man. Obviously the biggest thing for me is, you know, as a dad, especially for dads watching us right now, we always come up with kind of excuses. Oh man, I'm tired, or I'm working and I'm doing all this, so how can you looking at, yourself, you a dad, or so you got responsibilities, how you get that fitness level, that discipline into your daily life being a father?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So for me, I was a single dad. I had a 6-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy, and I had full custody of them. I had full custody of my kids. It was just me and my 2 kids. So I knew that exercise and health and fitness was a very big part of my life. Obviously, my kids were a big part of my life. I had to find a way to make it all fit and make it make sense. So for dads out there, for me, the way it worked for me, I had to find a time frame that worked for me no matter what, that I can do that. I had to feed my kids. I had to make sure they're in bed. I had to check their homework. I had to take them and let them make sure they have fun, make sure they're kids. But I still had to make sure there was time for me, or I wouldn't have been a sufficient and efficient father. So I made sure that there was time for myself so I can make sure that I'm doing the right thing, first of all, and make sure that I have time for me, because I'm nothing, if I don't get my health and fitness on point. I can't walk to my kids' school and, somebody's bullying my kids, and then they look at me, if they look at me, they're like, oh, whatever. But if they look at me and they see me do a flex right there, they're going to be like, okay, I'm not going to mess with that kid's dad. Or that kid in general. So you have to find that time frame. I know that sounds so cliche and we always hear that, but you literally have to find that time. And then even if it's 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, take it and own it. That's for you. And use it whatever way. Maybe some people like to drink and smoke and listen to music. That's fine. But if you want to make health and fitness your goal, make that time. Say, hey, I'm going to do 50 push-ups within this 30 minutes. It might take 6 sets, but I'm going to get 50 push-ups every time, 30 minutes every single day. That's my time. And you're going to see those changes. Consistency causes change. Not New Year's resolutions, not, hey, I saw this commercial on TV, so I'm motivated today. But when it's snowing outside, you got to warm up that car, and you got to scrape off that snow off or that ice off. You ain't going to feel like doing nothing. You got to get that mindset right.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
And I think this is great what you're saying, especially nowadays when we have the social media aspect of it, and that's something that, in our last episode, our guest Tyler really hit on. It's, when you're looking at everything that we've got going on here and with social media, I mean, you see people looking a certain way, right? And then all you see is the final product. And you come with all kind of stuff. You say, "Oh man, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to look like this." But sometimes it's the discipline and what you need to do to get to that level. So, especially now, you brought up your kids. Obviously, with everything's going on with your meal prep, your diet, and everything, and especially you have to be a dad. So how do you balance all that?
So I was blessed, man. That's a good question. I was blessed with that because my kids knew I was in that world at a very, very young age. They saw my son would go to my shows. My son would go to shows that I didn't even compete in, and that's why he's 23 years old. He lives to this day. He loves it. He's into it. We talk about it almost probably a couple times a week, just about, hey, how was your training? What'd you do today? Boom, boom, boom. So I was blessed, and I was kind of in a different world because I had no choice. I had to take my kids, to the daycare center and the gym. I had to take my kids to a show because I wanted to see this competitor I was going to compete against in the next couple weeks. So to do that, I'm different than most people. So, and I say that because I don't meal prep for weeks out. I don't do that. I do day of. I like fresh food. I like to have the process. I love the process of making sure that my body's going to be on point every 24 hours. So I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll prep my food. I have my music playing in the background. I prep my food, and then I will meditate. I meditate every morning, and that's just time away, silence, just my time, right? And I know that today this is what I'm going to do. That's what I meditate about. What's important for people that's trying to start something, let's talk health and fitness. They're trying to start health and fitness. You don't want to jump into all that. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. So it's just part of me. But if you're just trying to start in it and you want to get into that world or that realm, you have to do what fits for you. And when I say that, it's basics. I call it being brilliant at the basics. Get really good at the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Get really good at the easy stuff. And once you get really good at the easy stuff, let's add a little bit more. Guess what? For this last quarter, these last 3 months, this is what I did. You know what? I'm going to add another 30 minutes. I'm going to start prepping only for 2 days. So I know that I have my fresh food. I'm on point. I understand the process and what have you. I got to get cardio today. How I'm going to do that when, I got my kids, I got to drop off to daycare or take to school. Oh, guess what I'm going to do? At night when they're in bed, I'm just going to go for a walk around the block. That's what I'm going to do. If it's wintertime, I'm going to put my winter coat on and my hat, and I'm going to walk around the block. That's only helping you. You have to find ways that are kind of unorthodox, but will work for you.
So let me answer that question, Pete. I think that's really good, especially, as a father, right? When did you know that, the mindset? So if I'm looking at, and I'm looking at myself, it's just like as former athlete, right? So it's all about mindset. You'll be like, I was talking to somebody at work, and I was just like, the one thing about sports is gonna humble you, right? You might think that you're the best player ever.
Amen.
You're gonna find somebody's faster than you, that is more skilled than you. That's gonna make you think that, man,
Absolutely.
this guy is actually better than me, right? So, when you think about it, it's how you keep that mindset to be like, man, I know that this is important to me. Obviously, my kids' life, my family life is important to me. Also, this is my passion, which is bodybuilding, right? So, how you balance that? You find the right balance to make
That's
sure
good.
that you
Great
get
question, man.
time for
Great,
both of them.
great question. I love that question, man. I'm tell you what, in college, my freshman year of college, track and field, I was on the A team. They have A and B teams during practice. A team, certain standards, B team, certain standards, so certain times. So we had a day called Hell Day every Tuesday. Hell Day was like literally 400-meter intervals for sprinters, 400-meter intervals nonstop. I felt like it was like a full day you're running 400s, and you had to hit a certain time each time, or you're gonna have to run another one. It was ridiculous. Like I think back at it, and I was like, I don't know how we didn't die. But
Yeah.
thinking about that and doing it with these athletes that are just as good as me, that qualified for state, that placed in state, that have still school records, they're just crushing me. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm legit. So what I had to do, Carl, I had to do that extra work because you're not going to be in the same balance as everybody else. Some people are just naturally talented. God
Yep.
bless them. That's awesome. That's amazing. You might not be naturally talented. You might be talented, not naturally talented. Carl, you were an amazing athlete in high school and in college, right? You did
Yep.
good
In
sports, yeah.
college.
But I know
Yeah.
in high school you were just you were next level. It was the same thing. When you take that over there, you don't know these other people. You don't know John Doe, Jane Doe, and all these other people. So when I did it, I had to work that extra. I would go home, I would drive home and run with a buddy of my dad's who would do 6 mile intervals. So I would run 6 miles just to get my cardio on point. And I wouldn't tell my
Mhm.
coach, I wouldn't tell anybody. I was like, I just got to get where I need to go. So to get to that extra, I call it that extra, you have to be brilliant at the basics. You have to be able to do stuff, not that you see on TV, because you brought that up, not that you see on TV, not that you see these guys are pushing these supplements and they're doing, 600-pound deadlifts and squats. And you're like, man, I can do that. I could do. No, you can't. You're not there yet. But you can get yourself to that point if that's a goal of yours. You have to find a way that works for you. I had to literally, it took time. It doesn't take a day. You had to take time and find out, and you had to be patient because it's going to piss you off. You're going to be like, it's just taking forever. I can't
Yeah.
get here. And no, 9 times out of 10, you're going to quit because it's taking forever. You're like, I'm not seeing any progress. You're not seeing the incremental progresses, but you're trying to look for these big, huge changes. It's not going to happen. It took
Yeah.
me years to get to where my mindset, at least. And that's what even if you're 40, 50, 60 years old, it's going to take you time to get to that mindset if you really want it. So I started that in college when I was like, man, I'm just not as good as everybody else, even though I was awesome here. So I had to do extra. You have to find something in you to dig and do that little bit extra. And then it works every time. I always say this: God bless effort. He always bless effort. If you show that you really care and you really want it, he's going to bless you. He's
Amen
going
to
to,
that. Amen to that.
yeah,
And also, we want to tell viewers if you got any questions for Pete, please feel free. So we can see the comments. Please drop a comment if you have some questions that you want him to answer while he's here. Please feel free to drop any comment, and I'll be delighted to share with everybody. So let's talk about your training. Let's talk about your training. Because like you said, there's so much gimmicks out there, right?
for sure.
You got people, especially we live in a world that appearance is everything. Everybody wants to have six packs. Everybody wants to have big guns. Everybody wants to have everything, right?
Right.
But a lot of times they don't understand the training to get to that level, right?
Absolutely, man.
So can you walk to us, your training level? How do you train, and what's the most important thing for you when you train?
Yeah, like I said, I'm 49 years old, so my training had to be adjusted as I started. I've been doing this since 1998, so I had to adjust my training. Back in the day, man, I was eating bagels and baked beans and whatever just to bulk up and get weight so I can train with it, so I can change it from fat to muscle. I
Hmm.
can't do that today. I physically can't do that today. I'm a natural athlete. I can't physically do that because if I try to eat like that, I'm not going to be burning as quick as I can. So you have to learn adjustments as well. But my training is very, very advanced. It's just because of what I'm doing, right? So I stay lean throughout the year, not stage ready, but we call it beach ready year round. Like I'll be cool on the beach, but on the stage I'll be laughed at. If that
Hmm.
makes sense. So I
Yep.
have to. Your goal on stage is to be at 2%, 1 to 2% body fat. That's where you need to be day of the show, that moment. I don't care what you are before or after, 1 to 2% body fat. So for me, I do cardio every single day. I do 45 minutes cardio every single day. I don't care if it's a sick day. I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care what's going on. So I do
So
that.
can I ask you a question? So what's your cardio consist of? Is this like just running long sprints, or do you do interval running? What exactly is your cardio?
Neither. It's walking on an incline. I walk on an incline every single day, and I burn just as much fat as I would if I ran a 100-meter sprint intervals because
Okay.
you're consistent with it. So I do 45 minutes on that, a 13 incline, and no higher than 4.2, 4.3 walk. And I do that for 45 minutes every single day. When I'm getting closer to the show, I do it twice a day. I do it in the morning, I do it at night before bed. Um, So that's my cardio. I will never run because my hips and knees will not be able to take that sustained for 6 months of
Yeah.
training. There's no
Hmm.
freaking way, and I'm not going to even try that. But
Yeah.
walking, you'll burn more calories walking because you can sustain that than you can
Yep.
run, believe it or
Yep.
not.
Yep.
So that's what I do. I walk every day. And I start working weak points of my body. So I work weak points of my body twice a day. So weak points of my body, lower back, upper quads, glutes, in areas like that. I'll do that twice a week. I work those twice a week. So I have a schedule. I don't even think about it. I look at my calendar and I say, okay, chest day. Okay, upper pec day. Okay, lower pec day. So I'll do specific muscle groups, not just major muscle groups.
Hmm.
Bottom of the bicep, top of the bicep, tricep, top of the chest, delt workout, trap workout, things like that. So my workout regimen is very strict. I work out 7 days a week. I work out every single day. I train every single day because my body's adjusted to that. I do not recommend anybody to do that if you're just starting out working out. Even if you've been working out leisurely, I don't even recommend that because your
Right.
body needs time to heal. My body has been adjusted enough that it heals pretty quick. So that soreness is ripped muscle fibers. That's what you're feeling. So those ripped muscle fibers need to heal. So that's where your growth is. That's why they always say rest is just as important as working out. So yeah, I work out a specific muscle group. I don't do anything extra than that. And then I do cardio every single day, and I always do core. I do 100 sit-ups every single day. I don't care what day it is. I don't care what's going on. 100 sit-ups straight.
Yeah, they always say your core is the most important part of your body, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you kind of touched base about the nutrition aspect of it because you said that when you were younger, your metabolism was faster, right? So you could go ahead, for especially those college kids. I remember those days in college.
Oh,
I
dude.
can go after the club,
Great days.
Taco
Get some
Bell,
drinks, Taco Bell.
and be ready the next day, right? But
Best,
I can't
best.
do that no more.
Nope. Nope. I can't
But
even.
uh, so I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he was talking about losing weight, and so he's in his 40s just like me, and I told him that the most important things at that point of our life is how we eat, right? So the nutrition is the most important thing. Like we can't, because we don't burn calories the same way we used to burn calories when we were in our 20s or when we were teenagers, right? So
Right.
that's why, and I told him, I said, don't try to do because those are the biggest, I feel like gimmicks out there. Everybody wants to talk about certain diets and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? What you have to do is minimize your portion. So if you used to eat a lot of this, eat half of it. So for example, if you used to eat an entire burger, eat half of it, right? So now, because what's happening is your body, it's all about calories, right? Your body is not it's not, I mean, when you put all that calories on you, you're not burning that many calories
Exactly.
anymore because maybe you're not as active you used to be, right?
Exactly.
So it's all about it's all about moderation, right?
Right.
So for you, which is important and be a bodybuilder, right? Your nutrition is very important, especially when you get ready for a show, etc., or you get yourself ready for the show. So can you tell the audience how much nutrition play a role in what you do? I mean, we talk about the training aspect of it, but let's talk about the nutrition aspect of it.
Let's put it in compare. That's a great question, it's people ask me this question all the time, and I change it every time and so they can feel how much food is important in training and in hitting the stage. Think of working out is that much of your process. Food is, if you can see my hands, that much. It is
Hmm.
everything. Your nutrition is so important. This is how important your nutrition is. The closer you get to the stage, if you eat a spoonful of peanut butter, or take a bite of a burger, you'll see yourself bloat. That's how much. That's just a real statement. Any
Yep.
bodybuilder will tell you that. That's actually competed will tell you that. And that's how important nutrition is for the duration. That's why you should start 6 months out if you're going to do that. I eat literally the same thing every day. My foods are the same. It doesn't veer, it doesn't change. Yeah, I might go out and have a pizza and burger and whatever that is. Then I know I have to adjust, whether I'm fasting or I have to adjust for the following day. Nutrition is 85% of the game. If your nutrition is off, you might as well quit. Don't train. Just find another goal, find something else, because you're not putting it all in. You can literally get your food right 99% of the time and train once a week, and you'll see a difference in your body. That's how important nutrition is. It is
Yep.
everything.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I remember for me, when I understand the importance of nutrition, it was when I was playing college,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because growing up, you feel like you can eat everything and then you can just go and play.
Right.
Until I go to college and I was playing a certain level in college, and I was just like, man, I didn't understand how important nutrition was. It's just like how you feel, how to prepare yourself, even the injuries that you get
Exactly.
can be due to the type of nutrition you have in your body, right?
Exactly.
And even even how your body is flexing or your muscle is flexing. So all those things have a lot to do with your nutrition. So when I was coaching myself in high school, and when I learned more about it, and I was telling parents how important your nutrition is, especially when you have all these greasy food before a game or practice, it can be detrimental to your body. So
True.
so I'm glad that you hit on that, how important the nutrition is.
It's everything.
Uh, but now that we have the training part of it, we got the nutrition part of it. Let's talk about the discipline.
Whew. Discipline. Yeah. People are close to me, and Carl, because shit, we've been close for about 25 years probably.
Yeah.
Discipline is it's everything, guys. It's life. You could be motivated one day, then have that bad day, maybe because of work, maybe because of family, maybe because of a bill, who knows, and be like, I deserve a cheat day. I deserve a day off. I deserve all this. You won't succeed. You have to be able to handle those tough days, because that's just life. That's just the way it is. So for me, I don't veer. I don't veer because I know I'm gonna have tough days. I know that I'm gonna have tough conversations. I know work is gonna probably beat me in the head for something, right? I know um, I'm gonna be stressed about something, life, right? But I
Hmm.
still know I'm gonna hit that gym. I'm gonna eat the food that I need to eat because I love the way I feel. I love the way I look. I'm almost 50 years old and I still compete on a pro level. My last show was April 4th in Columbus, Georgia, and I will continue to compete. My next show is in Boca Raton in November. I will continue to compete because that keeps me going. Discipline is life. For me now, I need to find something to drive me to stay disciplined. That's why I compete. That's the reason why I compete. I know that in 6 months I have a show. I can't mess up, because the worst thing, Carl, is to get on that stage and be embarrassed. The worst thing is be backstage while you're pumping up and that blood isn't pumping into the muscle and it's not holding. Like, what am I doing wrong? Oh yeah, because I had that cheeseburger 3 months ago. Believe it or not, it will still stay, if you're not training correctly. So that keeps me driven to compete, because I have my bad days. I have days where I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to lay on the couch, watch Family Guy or Bob's Burgers, and I'm chilling. But I like the way I feel. My family has a lot of issues with heart, unfortunately. So that is another big aspect of me being healthy and doing the right thing. So I could be around for my kids.
Yeah, this is absolutely, you hit it right on. So I think for me is, obviously a lot of people gonna be like, yeah, this is what he does. He's been doing it for 30 years, so he's gonna look at he's different, right? It's different because, yeah, let's think about it, right? I don't think, I used to play soccer in high school and college and stuff like that, but I was not a professional player, right? Because I didn't have that extra, right? So now I can, people can be like, this is what you do, so you used to it, you do it for 30 years. What about me, the average Joe who wants to start my fitness journey? how would I stay motivated, right?
Right.
Because people might get intimidated by you. They'd be like, "That's what you do. You know everything." But me, that try to get it. How do I not get to your level, but how do I stay motivated?
Right.
So one of the thing I always say, look at small victories, right? So I used to tell my kids when I used to coach them, if you have to do 50 push-ups, count it to 10. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10. So every time you always do 10, so that makes you think that, oh, that's easy to do. Instead of doing 50 all the way, do 10, 10, another 10, 20, another 10, 30,
Like it.
another 10, 40, another 10, 50. Oh, guess what? You just did 50 push-ups. You realize that. So what would be your advice to somebody who's looking at watching you today and be like, man, I like what Pete is doing, but I'm not built like that. So what would you tell somebody, who want to start their fitness journey and
Yeah.
don't know how to conquer that discipline yet?
I get that every day, Carl, literally every day. Just random people or people that are clients, and they'll ask that. They're like, look, I don't want to look like you. This is how the statement goes. I don't want to look like you, but I just want to feel better. I want to be able to walk. And this is what guys tell me, literally. They say, I want to walk to my daughter's soccer practice, and I want the dads to look at me and be like, man, I ain't going to mess with that dude. They want that confidence feel, right? They want their
Yep.
daughter like, that's my dad, even though the daughter's proud of their dad. So what I always say, I say it twofold, right? I say, talk to a professional, talk to somebody that's been there, done that, or somebody that can help you, and get like me. I do free consultations. Hey, Carl, what are you trying to do? Hey, man, I just want to lose a little bit of weight on the waist, man. I just want to maybe build up my shoulders a little bit. I want to be able to dunk a basketball. I want to be able to do one pull up. They have these small goals, short term and long term goals. Cool. What are you doing now? That's the question I ask. What are you doing today? More times than not, they say nothing really. I've been trying to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but nothing really changing. Cool. Ask specific questions. What are you eating? Look at your food. What kind of food are you putting in your body? You are literally what you eat. So that's going to tell a big picture. What are you doing in the gym? Are you actually working out? Or are you just going in because your buddy's going there and what have you? So it all comes into play. So somebody that has no clue what they're doing, no clue what they're doing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff online that you can look at and be like, oh, I'm gonna do that. But 9 times out of 10, these guys have been doing it for years, and you're gonna fail, and you're gonna be pissed, and you're gonna quit, and then you're gonna be right back at where you started. So I always say, it doesn't have to be me, but talk to somebody that's been there, done that. Talk to Carl. Carl was a college athlete. Carl was a high school athlete. Carl has made changes with his body because he had to adjust based off his years. Carl could school the heck out of anybody, that hasn't been in that world and can help them. But I always say, start at the plate. Start what are you putting in your body? Because that's going to make a huge difference. If you eat the right foods, you're just going to feel better no matter what. You might not be able to do a pull-up. We can gain muscle that way, but the muscle's not going to build if we're eating crap and bringing that in. So start with the plate. Start with what you're actually eating. You just said it brilliantly. Americans, for some reason, we eat full plates of everything. You go overseas, they have the smallest plates of everything.
Yeah,
Small
small
plates of
portion.
everything. That's why they're thinner. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. We eat big portions of everything, and then we eat the whole plate. Like you said, you got a burger, eat half. You don't have to count macros. I'm so sick of people saying, I got to get proteins in, but no, you don't. It's calories in, calories out. If you're eating a lot and you're not moving, that stuff's going to turn into adipose, which is fat. It's going to sit and it's going to chill. And if you say, okay, one day I'm going to do that, or if you try to starve yourself, guess what that happens? You're not going to outsmart the body. Your body's going to be like, guess what? I don't want to die. So it goes in survival mode. So it's not going to burn anything because it wants to live. So you
Yep.
think because you're skipping meals and you're not eating, you're good.
You're good. Yep.
You're just as bad as eating 14 burgers. I promise you that. So you have to know your balance. It starts at the plate. Look at what you're eating. What are you putting in your body? You know what's right and wrong. I mean, there's so much stuff out there. Should I be eating this? Should I not be eating this? I don't have to tell you anything. Carl doesn't have to tell you anything. But know what you're putting in a plate and then start from there. And then if you start cleaning it up or changing that, that burger for a banana or drinking water instead of pop, you're going to start feeling a difference. That's where it starts.
So I think this is a good segue for to our next things segment. So one of the reason I started the whole fit dad community, as a dad myself, I was just like, man, what are the things that we do every day, right? We are expected to be strong for our families. We are expected to be strong at work. I mean, so we have, in general, we have to take care of everybody else, right?
Amen.
But the one thing that we don't do is take care of ourselves. So that's why when I was like, man, how can we create this community when everybody as that they be like, man, I wanted to have like a therapy session. I want to have a outlet when I'm frustrated, when I don't feel like I'm winning. I can come here and talk to Pete, and then to Pete, this is what's going on with me, and then
Right.
Pete can actually listen to me and say, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Right? Just like we're doing this podcast right now. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I
Right.
mean, we try to talk from our experience and say, hey, and people might think that this is great, or people might think that, hey, I don't know what those guys are talking about, right?
Exactly.
So one other thing that I'm looking at as a dad is we want to take care of everybody else, but we don't take care of ourselves. And then we might not be around to enjoy those things that we think that it's important toward as a father, right? So I'm gonna ask you that question. How do you use fatherhood as a motivation to do what you do today?
The word fatherhood motivates me, Carl. We've talked about this privately. We've talked about this publicly, me and you. But when you and you said this in the beginning of the whole podcast, you was like, when you introduced this fit dad community to me, it was like, oh my gosh, thank you. This is exactly what we need. And when I went to the first event, I was like, thank you. This is exactly what I want. And those that don't know what I'm talking about, if your dad out there, you got to check it out because it is life changing. If you really care about yourself, it's life changing. And I'll leave it at that because I want you to be surprised. But it's just an amazing thing that's been started here. Um, but with fatherhood, it's a motivator because I got a daughter and a son, and yeah, my son I keep as myself. He's me, right? He's a mini me. He just is. If you guys ever see him, you talk to him. I mean, it's just a mini me. But my daughter, I'm wrapped around her little pinky. I'm just wrapped around her pinky, and she's
Yeah,
20 years old, and I'm still wrapped around her pinky.
yeah.
She'll call me. We meet for lunch or meet for dinner a couple times a month. She's moved out, but we meet for dinner a couple times a month just to catch up and stuff. We talk all the time, and just seeing her and seeing him, it's like I don't want to be. If God takes me away, He takes me away. I have no control over that. But if I can do everything possibly I can to see my kids be successful, to progress, to have their families, to invite me over for Easter dinner when I'm old and gray, which I'm already old and gray, if you guys see that.
Yeah,
I'm
you are.
older and gray. You too, Carl. I see that, man. If I can be a part of that, because they want me to be a part of that, what other motivation do you need? I mean, it's just so it means everything to me. They know that. They know when I compete at a show. They ask me about it. They don't go to them, but they ask me about it. Hey, Dad. Hey, how'd you do on this in Georgia? Oh, I did pretty good. I did this and that. Okay, cool. He said, Dad, I want to go to your next show. But that means everything to me. And life is short. I mean, if I told you how many deaths I had in the last 6 years, guys, anyway, life is short. And if the people that are close to you, whether it's your kids or your whatever family, it is that has to be your motivation, especially as a man, especially as a father, because you're the leader. You're the leader. You're the one, right? They look up to you. Believe it or not. They can have arguments because they think they know everything or this and that. They look up to you. They watch everything you do. And if you take care of yourself. Let's talk about the health and fitness aspect. That resonates. So the Fit Dad community is like fitness for the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, It's the whole thing. So if your kids see you fit in that aspect, they have no choice but to be the same way. They have no choice because they see what you look like. They see how happy you are. They see how you are leading and doing the right thing, even though you're getting stressed and you're getting, beat up probably every day. It's very important.
Good. So actually, our last guest, Tyler Katie, got a question for you. It say, "What's Pete's all-time favorite meal or go-to food when he's finished with a bodybuilding show?"
Oh my gosh, you guys
Hey,
are
thanks, Tyler, for that question. Much love.
all right. Number one, you guys know this is so silly. Two different meals. I don't care wherever I'm competing at, I don't care what state I'm at, I need a big triple burger. So if they only make double burgers or single burgers, I ask for 3 patties. So I'll get a triple burger and endless fries. I'll continuously get a fry and I get a nice cold glass of pop. I don't care what kind of pop. Also, but if that place is busy or whatever it is, I'll go to a CVS and I'll get Cinnabons and I'll get a big thing of Welch's grape juice and I will just eat. You guys, I will gain 8 pounds in one day. Literally, I'll gain 8 pounds because your body's deprived. I'll gain 8 pounds in one day. When I did Columbus, Georgia, I went into this barbecue spot and I had Ohio State Crocs and I had a Ohio tank top. People were looking at me and it was an Auburn basketball watch party at this place.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, and it was like the cliche music stop. They're looking at me like, what is this dude doing? And I got 2 meals. And this lady at the thing was like, what do you want? I said, I want your full rack of ribs, I want your sweet potatoes, and I want your macaroni and cheese, and I want your catfish meal. She goes, you want 2 sides? I said, yeah, because I'm getting 2 meals. So I'm getting 4 sides and 2 meals. And guess what? I said, I'm gonna eat one today, I'm gonna eat the next one the next day. Guess what? I ate that whole thing in one day, and I felt bad. I was like crying as I'm eating, but I was starving. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. So cheat meal, Cinnabons, Welch's grape, any burger joint, I'll get a triple whatever it is, and endless fries and a nice cold pop.
I love it, man.
Yep.
This is great. See, that's what I love about this show, man. This is real talk. We're not
Real talk.
actors. It's not script. I
Nope.
mean, I don't have any papers and say those are the questions I'm gonna ask. I don't have that.
Nope.
I'm not a journalist. We're just here having a great time. Just talking about our experiences. This is
Keep it
great,
real.
man. I love it. This is so real, man. Like I said, people always make assumption because you look a certain way, you only eat certain things, right? But we're humans, right? We want to have fun. We want to do
Absolutely.
different things. So this is great, man. So Pete, I know that's one thing when we first started about Fit Dad community, and then we kind of touched base on that. So one of the things that I'm wearing this hat right now is say fit, right? Which
Yes,
is the
sir.
fit part of it. So
Love it.
the F is faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
The I is inclusion, and
Mm-hmm.
the T is transparency.
Yes.
So, Pete, I know you're a man of faith.
Absolutely.
So, how do you use, your faith into the way you look? Do you looking at your body as the temple of God? That's why you take care of your
I
body.
love it. Love it. Love it. Love the question. Love the question. 1,000,000%. Those that know me knows I'm very deep into my faith. Um, just a background. I do go to church every Sunday. That's just checking a box. But I do Bible study every 2 weeks. Or I'm sorry, twice a week. Sorry. I do Bible study twice a week. I run a group. So, and I read every day and I pray every day, just like probably most of you guys that are listening. Faith is everything to me. I would not be nothing without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Nothing. Zero. So, in saying that, it's in the Bible. God says, treat your body like a temple because that's something He's given to you. He's given this to us. Why would we treat it like crap, so to speak, when He's given us this gift of life? He's given us this gift of a body. He wants us to take care of ourselves. So I treat it just like that, Carl. I think about that almost every time I step on the stage, every time I push a weight, because God wants me to do that. Because when you do it physically, when you take care of yourself physically, that helps the whole aspect. That helps you mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It absolutely does. So faith is probably number one, and then food, and then exercise to my fitness world. I would be nothing without him. I could tell you so many stories that will blow your mind that he's done for me. And the least I can do is take care of the gift he's given me.
Amen, brother. I love it.
Yep.
So, so what message? And I had to write this down because I didn't want to forget it. I had to write this down.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what message would you share with dads trying to live with purpose, physically, mentally, and spiritually?
Not everybody's going to believe everything that the next person is, right? I said this earlier. You have to do what fits for you. And it's so important to do that. This is why. If you don't do what fits for you, you're going to quit. You're going to stop. You're going to give up. You're going to be frustrated. And guess what you're going to do? That's going to resonate to other people. You're going to show the anger. You're going to show the whatever. You have to see what fits you. And once you do that, even though it's not like this big extravagant thing yet, if you start consistently very small, but consistent, the change will happen. And as Carl pointed out, fitness is emotional, is a spiritual, it's a physical, it's everything. It really is everything. And what I would tell a dad just starting out, I can't stress this, and I hope this makes sense to when I say this to people. You have to do what works for you. It will not work for anybody on this call.
Yeah.
It has to work for you.
Yeah.
If I followed everybody else that I see on social media or everybody else I see on TV or that I see on the stage, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I would fail. I know I would fail. I might be lucky every now and then. I'm like, oh shoot, that's work. It won't. You have to figure out what works for you. If certain foods work for you, if you're comfortable with it, and guess what? You're losing inches. Don't worry about the scale, but you're losing inches, like your body fat is changing. Your inches or you're getting leaner. That's working for you. It might not work for me, but it'll work for you. If dumbbell presses work better than barbell presses for you, guess what? That works for you. Doesn't work for me. If whatever your background, if you believe in God, if you don't, if you have something, a higher being that you follow, I much respect to you. But find something. You have to, because if you don't, as men, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but this is from my experience. As men, you're going to fall short. You're going to definitely fall short, and then you're going to be frustrated. And then you're going to find something like this podcast that'll motivate you for a day or a couple days, and then you're going to say, "What else do I got? What else
Yeah.
is it? Do I have to watch Carl again? Do I have to hear Pete and Carl or the previous podcast again to get that motivation?" No, that's why you have to find what works for you.
This is great, man. This is great. Uh, so obviously, he hasn't been peaches and cream all the time.
Oh,
Life is tough in
oh,
general. So I know you kind of mentioned about some trial and tribulation that went through your life. So how do you deal with setback? You know, when things are not going the way you want it to happen. So for some reason, like that humble experience that you have. You say, man, look at me. I put all this time in to work hard on my body and to go to this show, and then I finished dead last. Most people will be like, "Ah, this is not for me. I did all this. I thought I looked great. And then I come here somebody and I'm at the mercy of someone to say whether or not I look good." Right? So how do you deal with those setbacks? And how does faith help you overcome those setbacks?
and like I said, faith is number one for me, and behind that is food and fitness. And thanks for asking that. And like you said, Carl, I've dealt with so much on a personal level, a competitive level, what have you. I twin sister just passed away 4 months ago. My twin sister, who was my blood, my life, my everything. And no matter what, a piece of me is gone because of her, and it will never come back. And I don't want it to come back. And that's just the way it is. My little sister died in my home, um, in 2019. And, I've dealt with some serious stuff. My mom and dad passed away as well. And I've dealt with some stuff, and I've dealt with losses in terms of competing, like Carl brought up. If I did not have my Lord and Savior, I would not be on this earth right now. I will tell you that right now. That's why I say you have to have something. If you don't, then you're just going to fester. It's going to boil, and something's going to self-destruct. It will. I don't even have to know who you are, but it's something that's going to self-destruct. But just to your point, Carl, I've lost shows. But when I lost that show in Tampa, when I took dead last, I said, I know what I need to do now. Let me try this. And I just kept on trying to change it. I never wanted to quit. I never quit anything. But I never wanted to quit. But I said, let me change this because he's got my back. If he still has me physically lifting weights and training and prepping and doing stuff, then he has a plan for me. So I know that, okay, if there's a plan, then there's an outcome for this. I don't know what it is, but there's going to be outcome. And I think it's going to be positive. I won a pro show. I've won 2 pro shows since that loss. And that's a blessing. I lost my sister, my twin sister, my blood, my little sister, lost these people out of my life. And I knew when I had my conversations with them before they passed, I knew that God was in the room. I knew he was there. And I knew that he was saying, look, I'm going to give you some tough times, but not even competing. But I know that, look, you handle this tough time. You know your sister's going to be in a better place. Live your life because people need you. As fathers, people need us. We're going to have tough jobs. You're going to lose your job. You might lose a paycheck. You might lose a family member or a friend. Might get a divorce. You might have all these things. But as men, people look up to us. You still have to have that face. You still have to. That face equals that faith. So that's why I say you need to lean on somebody. You need to lean on something. So without him, Carl, I don't know where I would be because I'm still not over my sister's death. I'm still not over it. And I don't think I'll ever be over it. And I don't want to get emotional. You just caught me up in that stuff. But
No. Be real, man. Be real.
But
Be yourself.
um I know that he will make a way. And I know she's in a better place. I know he'll make a way. And I know he doesn't want me to stop doing what I'm doing because that's the easiest thing to do is to quit, be down, everything like that. That's going to happen. How are you going to still be the man you're supposed to be? Because people need you. People need you at work. They need you at home. Friends need you. They're like, hey, Carl, I need to talk to Carl because Carl always has the right words to say at the right freaking time. I don't know how he does it, but he just does. I need Carl. But Carl might be having a bad day. Carl might be having a bad season. But he still needs to be up because that's what we're on earth for. We're here to help people. God has us on earth to help people. And you just have to have, and maybe this is not what everybody wants to hear, but you just have to have that faith. You have to have it. My faith is so strong. I've dealt with so much stuff and I made it through it. So I have ultimate faith. I can lose a show and be happy. Not that I want a participation award, but I looked the best I possibly could on that stage. In Columbus, Georgia, I beat only 3 pros. And I was happiest man alive. You know why? Because I was living in the moment. God put me down in there in Columbus, Georgia. I was a pro competing on a pro stage on a tier 1 show after not competing for 3 years, and I still beat people. I took that as a positive. I took that God wanted me to do this. And there was so many things. If I told you, you're like, I shouldn't be doing this show. I still did that show. And that's how I look at life. You're going to have bad days at work. You know, because of your life, you're going to have good days at work. It might be that the next day. They might be in a month from now. You're going to have good days at work. Your kids might be like, you know what? I don't want to talk to you no more, Dad. And then the next day is like, Dad, can we talk? You're going to always have those positive. They're going to win. We call them, you brought them up earlier. They're small wins. Have something to believe in. Believe in something.
Yeah, you just say something that hit home with me. It's just like sometimes we get caught up in everything's going on. We forget to celebrate. And then that was a real moment for you when you said that, yeah, I was living in the moment. I beat those guys and I was living to those moments. So I got to celebrate. And sometimes with life situations, sometimes we feel very entitled. We think we deserve to do certain things,
Yeah.
and we ask questions, why us? If there's a God, why it's happening to us?
For sure.
And sometimes we don't understand it. And you think about the death of your sister, but think about it. uh, 4 months later or 6 months later, you here on this podcast have the opportunity to change other people's lives.
Amen.
You know, anybody that can listen to this to be like, man, that's your purpose, right? That's your purpose. That's what God wanted for you. You didn't see it 6 months ago, but now people can be like, man, I like what Pete is talking about. I
100%.
like to follow him. I want to be like him. I want to talk to him. I want to give him a call, or I want to send him a DM and say, Pete, I'm struggling with this. How can you help me with this? So I think that's the whole purpose of the Fit Dad community. I know that since I started the community with the whole Fit Dad community, the people that I've met in the last 4 months have changed my life.
Love
That
it.
changed my life. And
Love
if you would have told me a year ago, I would have been, talking to those guys, Tyler and Billy and all those guys. They changed my life. I mean, they make you see things in a different ways. And hearing all these stories and everything, we just learn from it, right? It makes us better as human beings, and it makes us better as father, right? And
it.
it makes us better as men of faith. So, what's your future vision? Where do you see yourself in the next 6 months?
Next 6 months, I'll be in Boca Raton competing. I know that. I'll be having a show down there. I'll be ready to roll. I'll be probably 1 to 2% body fat, ripped up, ready to rock and roll. Um, I've made a point to my son lives in Phoenix, Arizona. So I just visited him a couple weeks ago. Me and him just hung out like every day. I took him and his girlfriend out for dinner, just spending time with him. My whole thing is just be continuously be deeper in my faith with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Um, Competing. I work a corporate job. I travel for work. I travel all across the country for work. But on top of that, I still do personal training. I do face-to-face personal training. I do online personal training. So that's continuously growing. So I'm a bit. It sounds like I'm a busy man, but it's my lifestyle. It is exactly right. I still have all kinds of time to do whatever I want to do. I'm a Buckeye fan. Carl knows that. Carl hates that because he's Notre Dame all day. No,
I'm
Miami.
not Notre Dame,
Oh
man.
God, that you. I just
I'm the
oh
you.
man, I almost threw up. I'm throwing up right now. But yeah, just maintaining, man, maintaining, growing my personal business. Continuously work. I work at a great company. I'm blessed to be at that company and just continuously building relationships with people that matter. I don't care about like the past, like people that you used to club with and party with. I don't really hang out with those people no more. I mean, that's just the way it is, and it's no diss to anybody. It's just I have a different circle of people that acquaintances that I talk to and I lean on, and it just makes me a better person.
Great. So, Pete, how do people follow you? For all of our viewers watching us right now, how do they follow you? You have Instagram handle? How do
Yep,
they follow you?
yep. BFD training. That's me. I'm Pete. So just search for BFD training, and you'll find me. And just go ahead and select and accept that. You can also go on my website is bfdtraining.com. That's bfitdadtraining.com. So bfdtraining.com. And I got a phone number right there. If you guys ever want a free consultation, I got a business number right on my website. You could just call it, and I always give free consultations. Consultations last about 30 minutes to an hour, and I ask specific questions. And even if you don't sign up with me, at least you have some information and something to kind of work towards.
It's great, man. So please follow Pete. Pete is a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, and everything Pete is doing, I always support it 100%. And
Absolutely.
like I said, Pete was one of the first people that I talked to when I was talking about Fit Dad community, and he said without hesitation, "Amen."
All
And just for
good.
the audience over here, our first Fit Dad so far has been happening in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Pete lives like 2 hours away from Fort Wayne, and it was in a blizzard. It was super cold on the first Fit Dad event, and he drove 2 hours to come to that event and drove back 2 hours to go back home. So I appreciate him. I have so much love for him, and when I told him that we're gonna do this, he was all in.
All
So
in.
Pete, so please follow Pete. He's a great guy. You know, there's so much fun. I mean, just look at him. He's ready to go. Anyway, Pete, it's been fun, man. I appreciate you. That's it for the show today. Thank you for all your support. And also, we like to thank the audience, everybody that tuned in to watch the show. Hopefully, you guys got a lot from today. And it's not gonna stop. We're still gonna have a different podcast. We're just getting started. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Pete. You have a good weekend, man.
All right, you too.
All right.
Discover the Fit Dad Community Podcast, where every episode strengthens your journey as a father. Hear from experts, coaches, and real dads on balancing fitness, faith, and family. Gain practical tools for your everyday life. Join us to support your family better and build stronger communities. Fit Dad Community Podcast. Fitness for life, not just the gym.